Welcome back to In Pursuit of Magic, where we explore the things that inspire us, connect us, and the magic we find along the way. I'm Matthew Medina, and today's very special guest is a multi talented actress and singer who has a powerhouse voice and has been making her mark in NYC, whether it's creating magic on Disney Cruise Line as part of Plaza de Coco or helping create an immersive musical theater performance in a home in Brooklyn. She's no stranger to making stories feel real and come to life. I'm very excited to welcome Cristina Contreras. Cristina, thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me, Matthew. It's a pleasure to be here today.
I really have to start by just asking what inspired you to become a performer because you're all in. I mean, you've been part of stuff that is just really magical and immersive and it's making these stories come to life and it's really special. So what first inspired you to become part of stuff like
That is a like a heavy question and yet so simple to answer. It's what I've been doing my entire life. It's uh, performing and being on stage and just creating make believe has been pretty much hardwired into me since I was like 4. So at this point in my life, or actually very early on, when I was maybe around 10 years old, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is it. It was very clear. It was, the North Star. There was no hesitation behind it. My mom, love her to death. She's been my number one fan from day one, and she's been very, very, very supportive. She did have a caveat that I needed to have a a degree, a proper degree,
yeah.
quote unquote, if this is what I was going to pursue, which I did, and I have not really used ever because all I've been doing is perform, and I feel very, very blessed.
What's amazing to know kind of where you want to be from such a young age and where your heart lies and then to
For
be able
sure,
to do it and like put that
absolutely.
into play, which is really incredible. And I'm wondering if there was a moment within that process of getting to where you are now where everything just kind of sat perfectly within you and you were like, this is happening. Like this is where I'm meant to be.
Yes, I mean for sure, and there's been several of those moments. I think um, I feel like in being in the creative space that one as an artist needs to be in. We are so bombarded with, is this really what you're going to be doing, like, but when are you getting a real job? That that sort of vocabulary and conversation that forces you to reanalyze and confirm to yourself every so often, is this what I want to be doing? Is this what I am meant to be doing? um and even when I was in acting school, I remember teachers, and I'm not the only person who said this, because this is a sentiment that I feel a lot of teachers in this career do express. If you could be doing anything else, go do that instead, like, because this is such a demanding career, this is such a quote unquote uncertain field that from very early on, my teachers, my peers, my mentors, if this is what you want to be doing with your life, you need to be all in, because if there's anything else you want to be doing, go do that. So to answer your question, I know it's been a little long, but I think that it's a rediscovering journey, because the imposter syndrome lives within you and very rarely goes away. So there's moments when, especially within the past 2 years, when I've been like, oh yeah, no, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This I knew that, and this is why I'm here, and I am damn good at what I do. But along the way, there's the doubt, and there's the moments of, but why aren't you doing something else, or you aren't doing enough, and all of these things, all of these conversations um, permeate into your psyche, and it's just a matter of, not just, but it's a matter of analyzing and saying, no, you know what, I hear those voices, I acknowledge those voices, but I know what I'm meant to be doing, so I'm just going to keep on going.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to consistently remind yourself about, because
Yes.
it's so easy to forget. I think especially, I've said it a lot that I think especially when chasing a creative dream, it feels so lonely because it's so personal, and yet there's so many other people with the same dream. And
Hmm.
it's funny how we often forget about leaning on others in our community, and also keeping grounded and having relationships outside of this space,
For
and
sure.
reminding ourselves, yeah, that this is just one of those things. And who's to say that we're not meant to be here or to be doing that? And I think if you have
Exactly.
that confidence and walk into the room with it, other people will see it, which isn't always easy, I think.
It's not. It's not. I. It's so weird. Not weird, but humbling to an extent, because I, as a performer, like I believe in my talent. I know that I am a talented creator and that I bring a plethora of characters to the fold, right? I can bring all of these people to life, but I hate auditioning. I hate auditioning so much, because it feels like, even though you know that rejection is part of the career and it's part of this field, it just chips at you a little bit here and there, and you're just like, but is it what I'm meant to be doing? Am I seeing things that these people are not seeing? Am I a little delulu? Like, what is going on? But yeah, like being reminded, not just by yourself, but, well, mostly by yourself. Hey, no, this is where you're meant to be. It's very important. You are your number one supporter.
Yeah. And what I
Don't
keep
let,
hearing
yeah.
is that it takes a little bit of healthy delusion to keep going.
Yes. Yeah, 1000%. 1000%. You need to be delusional. You need to have a healthy dose of delusion to be able to make it happen. 1000%.
Because yeah, I know there's a ton of no's, there's a ton of no responses.
Oh,
um
for sure.
I'm thinking I'm not even a performer like that. I do this podcast, and I appreciate this form of art so much, and even in getting this started, like, I've had to learn similar lessons. And whether it's no response, whether it's we're gonna
Uh-huh.
pass on behalf of this person, they won't even talk to them, things like that,
Yeah.
or feeling like, who am I? Like, why would anyone care? Like, I'm not a name. I don't have a following like that. I'm not famous. Like, it's anything like that. And it's a matter of, like, thinking past that, which again is it's something to put into practice. It's something to keep on
Yes.
relearning.
Yes. Absolutely. It's a daily practice.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, for
Consistency.
you, when you have those moments where maybe you're having an off day and you're feeling more down, or it's in between things, how do you manage those moments to not let it put your light out and just keep going?
It's hard. It's difficult. I'm going to be very, very vulnerable right now. I have allowed those moments to drag me down, and it's part of the journey. Not everybody's journey, and that's great for whomever doesn't have to deal with that kind of energy. But it's a humbling place to be at, because even though you know your talent and you know that the rejection is coming, it's going to happen, because it's just part of the career. You cannot allow the little negative voices that will be there to just track you down. I personally did allow that to happen for a really long time after I graduated college, already living here in New York. Um, and I I am very thankful that I am no longer in that mindset. Granted, having a good support system, people around you who are willing to remind you who you are, to create alongside with you, whether it is for profit or just for love, it's still with a purpose. And creating for the sake of creating is just as important. And I feel like a lot of us do lose sight of that because, like we live in a capitalist world. So even if we are doing what make us the happiest for the sake of being happy, we have that mentality that we have to produce something, that we have to create, not in the creative sense, but in the, in the you can never stop working sense. And it's important to remind yourself that you're not a machine, that what you are making, what you are creating is as much for you as it is for other people. So having the opportunity to pick yourself back up by what you've chosen to create with the people that you've chosen to create it with really, really can pull you out of those really hard times, because they will come. So yeah.
I think it's important to keep that in mind, especially because we see people's successes and their wins online, but we never
Yes.
see those harder moments, which is part of what I love about
Rarely.
talking to
Yeah.
people on here, because I get to explore that with some people where they're like, this is actually the reality.
Yeah.
And what I've had to
Truly.
learn, they said, it's about enjoying the process. The process
Yes.
is the work. Auditioning is the work. That
Mm-hmm.
is part of it. And we need to embrace that more. Someone gave me great advice. They said they learned to define success before you get there, because things may be actually
Amazing.
successful, but you're not
Yeah.
thinking that because you're thinking it's something else, when really, no. I think if you're doing something that you love, that's success.
Absolutely. 1000%. Oh, that is lovely. Can you say that again? We need to measure
Define success
success.
before you get
Uh-huh.
there.
Oh, define success before you get there. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that a
It's been
lot.
living in my head a lot recently.
Oh, that is a paradigm shift right there. Paradigm.
Yeah,
English is
paradigm
my
shift.
second language. We figure it out.
Well, I think
But
part of also
yeah.
what you said is the importance of community,
Mm,
and we'll talk about Canciones because there was such a strong bond that was seen there and that translated into the performances. But yeah, I think
truly.
finding community with other people and other artists and kind of building
Yes.
that network is so important, to lean on each other, because I feel like there's an ease with sharing your stories and what you're going through,
For
and
sure.
cheer each other on when things are good, and to lean on each other when things don't feel so good. And that can be
Absolutely.
difficult sometimes to open up and share that.
Yeah, because like you feel it's part of it's going back to that whole imposter syndrome that I was talking about before. You, even though you don't want to, you measure your own sense of success based on what you see your peers do. And that is so unfair to you and to them. It's like, I have this really dear, dear person whom I am so proud of. Her career is leagues away from mine, and we have very similar paths. But at the same time, I'm like, this person has been training in their specific, um, like their specific discipline since they were 5, since they were 4. I could not, at my 30 something years of age, measure it up to that. That is just my truth. She is an athlete, and I cannot that is not a strength I have, but I have plenty of other strengths that I need to continue to remind myself of. It's very important to be kind to ourselves and to speak kindly to ourselves, because like I said, with that measuring rod, we can fall back into but I'm not doing what they're doing. How come I haven't achieved that when I know that I can give so much more? And it's it's a matter of timing. Your time will come. Your time will come, and you just got to stick with it. You just got to keep going and remind yourself that it's not a straight line. Success is not a straight line. This business is not a one size fits all, and it's so malleable. So yeah.
I also think within that, like, you will always end up where you're meant to be. And
Correct.
there might be twists and turns taking you to places you never expected, but are better than you could have ever imagined. And
Absolutely.
I've learned that in the past year that I keep getting surprised. And so I think it's a beautiful thing that you never know where life is going to lead you. And I think within that, there's room for learning that you're capable of more than you thought you were. And
Absolutely.
going to spaces you never imagined yourself in, but you're there and you're doing it.
Exactly. And then when you make it to those spaces, remind yourself, I am that girl. Because you get to those spaces by your own merit. I like, even though we might not think of it that way, you make it to those spaces by your own merit, whether it is because you took the time to go and meet these people that you didn't want to go out and meet, or you worked 3 or 5 years ago with this one person that you really had a great connection with. And 7 years later, they're like, hey, this role, you would be perfect for it. You never know what is going to what is going to bloom from the connections that you make through your journey as an artist, because we're all artists. We're all creating consistently at all times. And it is important to keep those, not just those doors open, but to remind yourself that yes, it is a job. Yes, it is a career, but we're all here to play. We're all here to create. Be be willing to play. Be willing to explore with people who are willing to explore with you, because that's how amazing, wonderful things happen that you had no idea were even in the cards for you. So
Absolutely. I mean, you're speaking my language because I believe the same things. And it's
yay.
funny, we're talking about like how it can take you to places you never expected. And that brings me to talking about your time on Disney Cruise Line. Because first of all, Disney Treasure looks beautiful and I'm
It's
dying to go
stunning.
on it.
It's
But
stunning. I'm sorry, go on.
no, but you were part of Plaza de Coco, which is even more
Yes.
incredible because that show looks beautiful, and I remember seeing the videos, so I've probably seen you in it a bunch of times on YouTube. But what was that experience like? Just taking on that role, being on the ship. Like, how long were you there? Because I think you did it twice, right? 2 runs.
No, I've only done it once. I've
Okay.
only done the one contract so far with Plaza de Coco with Disney Cruise Lines. But it was a 7-month contract. So yeah, so it was a month-long rehearsal period. I got there a little bit late, but for me it was a month in Toronto and then 6 months on board. And that was another experience. Like, going back to what I was saying, you never know where your name is going to be brought up, where your career is going to take you, depending on who you get to meet, who you talk to, where you submit, where you audition. Because I submitted for Plaza de Coco back in, I think, 2023, when they were just doing the workshops here in New York. I didn't hear anything, and that was fine. I didn't even know that it was for Disney Cruise Lines. I was like, well, I love Coco. Let's see what happens. And then December 2024, I got an email from my then rep saying, hey, you have an audition. They want to see you. Here's the material. You have a week. I was on vacation at that moment, so I had to scramble to try and find a ring light and a tripod and try to get this done. And it was a whole endeavor. So shout out to my cousins in Panama for being willing to play ball. I love you guys so much. But I definitely did not think, I was not expecting that experience. I was not expecting that opportunity. It kind of like felt like it felt like it just fell on my lap, which it didn't, because I had worked towards it, or I had put my name in there in the fold for them to decide whether or not I was a good fit, which eventually I was. And it was so surreal. It was so surreal because it was such a quick turnaround for this audition in particular. I got it, like I said, when I was on vacation, also alongside with an audition, another big audition that I didn't get, which is fine. And I was like, hey, opportunities are coming up, so sure, if something happens, great. If not, all right. And then I didn't hear anything until mid-January. And when I finally heard back from them, they were like, they need you in Toronto in 3 weeks. And the thing about going on cruise ships, working as crew in cruise ships, is all the paperwork that you have to figure out, that you have to sort out before you even get hired. So most of the people that I ended up meeting in this experience, in this contract, had been hired 3 to 6 months prior to when they had to be in Toronto. So their 3 to 6 month time frame to get all their paperwork done was just a 2-week window for me, because I had 3 weeks to make it to Toronto, but only 2 weeks to sort out everything that they needed from me. So we did some magic there. Yeah, I had to ask a lot of favors and move a lot of things around, but it worked out. And then being able to be part of Plaza de Coco with the original creative team was such an experience. It was such a humbling process, because even though these two people, like two of the main creators, have now passed down the material to the rest of Disney Cruise Lines, and they are no longer in charge of that project, the love with which they created all of these characters is so humbling. The way that, like, I'm talking a lot, and I'm not saying much, and I recognize that, but it's a little overwhelming. Juan Cantu and Mario Trujillo, and oh my God, and Patricia Becerra, I'm just like, thank you for the opportunity, for trusting me with the role of Abuela, because I'm sorry, it was such a special moment. It was just so great. But being on the ship, having the opportunity to meet all of these wonderful people, because, like, very similar to Canciones, Plaza de Coco was kind of like in the round, because it was at a restaurant. So it wasn't like most of the other shows on Disney Cruise Lines, on the Treasure specifically, but in all of the vessels, they have the Walt Disney Theater, and all of their shows are at the Walt Disney Theater, except for obviously their restaurant shows and other like concerts and stuff like that happen throughout the vessel. So getting to be at the restaurant, walking around the tables, talking directly to the audience, it was such a humbling and beautiful experience. I remember one time, I am still, like, I still get goosebumps when I think about that. And I have the little bracelet in my room, but I was dressed as Mama Imelda, because I was doing 2 characters. I was Abuelita Elena, like Miguel's grandma, not Mama Coco, Mama Coco's daughter. And everybody kept calling me Mama Coco, and I'm like, I'm not her. But I was playing Mama Elena, Abuela Elena, and Mama Imelda. And dressed as Mama Imelda, I was leaving the stage, and I was about to head back to the green room, and this little girl stopped me, and she just handed me this bracelet that she beaded herself, and it just said Coco, and I'm a big believer in energies, and I love crystals. I'm a rock girly. I have crystals everywhere. I have this little turtle right here. Oh like gosh, I love cute crystals. Thank you. It's a Labradorite. She's adorable. Her name's Antonia. And it has 6 different crystals. It has rose quartz, clear quartz, citrine, turquoise, strawberry quartz, and something else that I can't remember right now. but it was so special. I started tearing up, and I was like, "No, the makeup! I'm dead. I can't be crying. I can't be crying. The black is just gonna run down my face, and then that is a hate crime." But it was just so moving. Getting to see how, as a Disney character, you truly change people's lives. You truly, you affect them in such a powerful way that it's humbling. It's really humbling. I one of my favorite things as a performer is making grown people cry. I love making grown people cry. And to see Latin people, especially, seeing themselves represented and reflected, even if they're not Mexican, in this very quintessential Latin story, it's still to this day one of my favorite things. I was able to sing to Kelly Clarkson because she came to Sale. So listen, I performed for Kelly Clarkson. I performed for Darren Criss. I performed for whom else? I performed for a few people that I was just like, oh my God. Okay. Sure.
No pressure.
I'm not freaking out. No pressure. No pressure. We're, it's not like Kelly Clarkson is sitting on the first table, dead center, and she's hearing me directly, whether or not the mic works. But I still very much hold that experience with me right here. Honestly, right before Canciones, without a doubt, without hesitation, I was saying Plaza de Coco, one of the best experiences of my career, without a doubt. It still is, but now I also have Canciones.
I mean, it definitely sounds like it was so magical, not only for the families that got to experience that, but for you and all the performers that were there. I mean, just seeing it on YouTube, I think that was like the part of that ship when it was just a brand new ship that sold us, that we were like, we have to go on the Disney Treasure. Like, that's the only place that has this.
No, truly.
We're aching to.
Truly. And it's just, oh my goodness, some of the most beautiful things was to see the babies, and I'm talking toddlers, like no more than 3 years old, in full mariachi. I was like, are you kidding? Like this little bebe with a huge sombrero, and I'm just like, no, we would be crying on the daily. We would come back to the green room and we would just be like, no, oh my goodness. The babies in mariachi. There was this one girl in full folklorico trying to dance jarabe tapatío that one day, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so cute. No, it was truly so cute. It's so, and I keep saying humbling, but it really what it is. It's so humbling to be able to step into the shoes of these characters that mean so much for people, especially with Disney pieces like Coco and Encanto, where we truly, as Latin peoples, which I always say, we're not a monolith, we're not all the same. Our cultures, our beliefs are not necessarily parejas like throughout. They might not look exactly the same, but we all have a very similar understanding of what it means to be Latinos. And to have the opportunity to see all of these people, most of these people have been saving up their entire lives to be able to be in a Disney environment like this, and to see them just experience for the very first time this realismo mágico, because that's kind of like that is what Coco is, this magical realism right there, right in front of you, where you can reach out and touch them, where you can actually interact with the characters, is fascinating. We were not allowed to meet and greet. We were not allowed to sign autographs, because Disney is very, very particular with that. And I completely understand. They need to keep they need to make sure that they are maintaining a standard of quality throughout, and you need to receive a proper character training that we didn't receive at Coco because we were technically performers, not characters. So that was a little, I cannot sign your. And how do you tell a little kid that comes running to you with her book, can you please sign my book? And I'm like, no. I can take a picture.
Yeah.
But it's part of it. But it was I might be going back in August just to sail, just to see my friends. But I have my heart open for if and when I get the opportunity to go back on board, whether it is for Plaza de Coco or for other tracks. I would love to be Ursula, girl.
Ooh, yes.
Ooh.
What
So
a
we'll see
great
what
role. Not to mention, I have heard Coco may be coming to Broadway, so that may be happening. So crossing my fingers for that too, for opportunities.
Yeah. I've been hearing that either or both Coco or Encanto would be coming to Broadway, and I'm over here like, listen, I cannot play Mirabel, and I'm not strong enough to play Luisa, but I would love to be one of the burros that dances for Luisa.
Oh my gosh. How much fun.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I would love to be a burro. Like that is my track. If Encanto makes it to Broadway, please let me be one of the burros. I just want to be a burro. And if Coco makes it to Broadway, I know that for Plaza de Coco, this voluptuous body of mine was more appropriate for Abuelita than it was for Mama Imelda. Mama Imelda's very lean and very statuesque, and I understand that. So I am not deluded thinking, maybe I will, but I am not really seeing myself as Mama Imelda on Broadway. But I would love to be Tia Rosita. Do you remember which one is Tia Rosita?
I think so.
Tia Rosita is the bigger skeleton. Yeah, no, she was hilarious. And my friend Ivan, who plays Miguel on Plaza de Coco, he and I would just every single time we would come out of the green room over to start the show or whatever, we would just start improvising little family stories because we had this huge ofrenda that we would walk by every time, and he would be like, Abuelita, tell me about my Tia Rosita. And I was like, your Tia Rosita, she would keep on eating all of my mama's whatever's. And it was just so funny. It was hilarious to just ad-lib, and it was fun. But I would love to play Rosita. If it makes it to Broadway,
yes,
let me be a dead Tia Rosita or a dead Frida Kahlo. Why not?
Oh my God.
I'll be one of the Fridas.
Well, it's so funny you talk about creating these backstories for fun, because that brings me to Canciones, where I feel like that required a lot of that and a lot of on the spot, which is so funny, and I can't wait to dive into it. But for those who didn't get to experience the beauty that is Canciones, tell them a little bit about what the story was and how it worked.
Well, Canciones was a site-specific interactive piece where you got to visit a family home, where this family, the Guerreros, a multi-generational family living in Brooklyn, would take you through their preparations for this family event that my character, Ellie, was very excited about, because it was it was a family reunion and she was excited for this family reunion. But her sister, Kathy, who's kind of like the black sheep of the family, had not come to visit in a very long time. And then she shows up, and there's some friction between the two sisters, and Kathy comes over with not very forthcoming with what her intentions for actually being at this family reunion was or were her intentions. And you get to see, depending on where in the house you were, because scenes were happening simultaneously in different parts of the house. Depending on where in the house you were, you had the opportunity to hear the story from somebody else's perspective, from somebody else's point of view. And it was very interesting because, oh my goodness, it was such a feat to be able or to figure out the timing for like, oh, things are happening in the patio. There's a scene happening in the patio, and there's a scene happening in the living room, and I'm sandwiched in the kitchen. And during the rehearsal process, it was very much like to the other scenes. You guys need to remember that the timing in the kitchen will vary. So you guys have to be aware of what's happening in the kitchen, maybe stretch things a little bit more. But what ended up happening was that these scenes were just going. And all of a sudden I was like, I have so much dialogue. I have so much dialogue. I had to cut things here and still interact with people. And I had to teach people how to make tamales. I don't know how to make tamales. Well, now I know. Now I know, but I didn't know how to make tamales. He was like, oh, but teach us how to make tamales. Honey, we're all learning here. We're all learning today. But I did it with a lot of confidence. So it seemed like I knew what I was in fact doing. And so it ended up being more like Cristina has to adapt to what is happening on both scenes because she's the one who needs to track this because otherwise nothing's gonna make sense. So it was a challenge to be on cue, on text, improvising in order to make things make sense, being hyper aware of everything happening around you because it's also live theater. So whatever is happening in other scenes, people might be interacting in the other scenes. The timing gets not messed up, but like delayed or shortened for whichever reason. And the way you have to adapt, or if something happens, like, did we have anything in particular that happened during the I don't think no. Okay, so during the run, we actually didn't have anything specific that happened, but during one of our not our previews, but while we were still rehearsing, it was just an invited rehearsal at our rehearsal space. We had a guest, lovely, super sweet, who's in the spectrum. She's on the spectrum, and you know that there's a lot of conflict in Canciones. There's a lot of yelling. There's a lot of somebody may or may not have outed their sister in the middle of the family party. I may or may not have been that person. So there's so much conflict, and we had this person, this kid with us, a little bit older, but still kid-like. And as we're not fighting, we hadn't started actually fighting, but we were arguing, and the volume was starting to rise. And she got in the middle of the two of us. She got in between us. She's like, okay, sit down. And we were like, but we need to keep going. So you have to find that balance of continuing the scene, of making the scene make sense, of still making sure that you are safe and that the audience is safe, because like I can only be responsible for myself and for my scene partner. I have no control over whether or not somebody else is going to do or say something while we're in the middle of the scene that I have to be hyper aware of or about. And like, it's definitely a lot of trust in yourself, in the process, in the space, in your scene partner, in the crew. Shout out to stage management. Those girls, that team, my gosh, fabulous. I have not felt as taken care of as I was during Canciones because of the stage managing team. It was thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have to second that because
Mhm.
even from the audience perspective, there was a seamless way that we were basically told that when a scene would end and to move to somewhere else without it being so obvious that these were
Mhm.
scenes where it felt so
Right.
natural and real and genuine. And I'm just thinking each of your performances made the characters feel so real in the situation that it was hard not to feel something for each of you. There was times where, you know, I would either feel frustrated for someone or I would feel bad, like, oh, well, I kind of see what they're saying, or, you know, maybe they're feeling this. And I remember specifically there was a scene with Mayela as Nina in the basement,
Mhm.
and she was complaining about the situation with you and with Gati, and you know she was talking about Gati finding her manager and all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself,
Mhm.
okay, this is kind of like a mystery because we don't know all these dynamics too well yet. It was early on, and so trying to
Yeah,
figure
yeah,
out
yeah,
who
yeah,
each
yeah.
person is so much fun. And so I was just like,
Yes.
well, what do you want? And I remember her being like, I don't know. And I was like, I'm onto something. I'm onto something. And then the scene was gonna change, but she was still down and like
Mhm.
feeling sad. And I was like, I know this is the end of the scene, and this is acting. But I feel bad leaving them alone when they're feeling so down. But that means they're doing a great job. And it was the same thing with you as Ellie, where I was like, there was moments where I was like, you know, she has a lot on her shoulders. Like I kind of get what she's saying right here. And I'm just like, but you know, then I feel bad for this person. And it's so beautiful how each of you got to pull people in your direction and feel something, because at the end of the day it was a loving family that just
Yeah.
has stuff that they needed to talk
Yes.
about.
Truly, truly, like it's such a relatable story because I mean, in any family, truly, but it's very real for the kind of dynamics that we have in Latin households. Like everybody is involved in everybody's business. Like the generational households. My mom's household is a generational household. When I lived with my mother back home, in the same house, I was raised by my grandparents. My mom would come back home after work. My tío and his family are my neighbors in my mom's property. So it's like, you know, I grew up with my cousin Ricky, my cousin Jose right there coming in just like to eat my food and whatever any particular day because we're family. We're familia and we're that close. But it was it was just so surreal to realize we are a family. We created a group chat for the cast and it is a family group chat. It's a family group chat. The amount of nonsense that we talk in that group chat is still active. Like we're just every other day, if not every day, we're just sending pictures, telling each other what we're doing. We're still like getting together to do things together. It's Joe. I love her so much. Joe was maestra. She played my mom. We had a brunch last week at Chino's house where Julio, who played Julio, he and I have been friends for 13 and a half years. So we were over at his place. Mayela came over. We were having breakfast. We were having chilaquiles and we sent pictures to the group chat. And then Joe sent us a video crying because she wished she was here.
Mm.
And we were like, oh my God, we miss you so much. No, it's so lovely. We love each other so, so hard. It's mm, truly, like I said before, and now I'm just repeating myself, one of the best experiences I've had in my career, I've had in my life, not just with the quality, the caliber of talent that we had in the cast, but just how seamlessly we all just fell into place with each other so beautifully. Like, we were given obviously we were giving the backstory of the family to read to get acquainted with it, to understand the relationship that we each had to one another, but we all had to create the nuance, you know, and it just flowed, it free flowed so nicely. There was one day when we were doing the pre-show because, as we've mentioned, since this was in a site specific house or place, it was a home. people would be coming in and getting settled. So we were already in character, and we're like doing busy work to be ready before the show starts. And Mayela, who played my daughter Nina, would come over. Like she would come and help me. And there was this one day when Julio, my husband, comes by and he's like, have you heard what your daughter is saying? Again, we're still in the middle of pre-show. And he's like, I don't even think that people had actually started coming in yet. He's like, are you hearing what your daughter is saying? And I'm like, what? She wants to have a beer. And because, Ellie was very like, very like, señora de la casa, right? Very, very stern. And I'll be like, she can have a beer if she wants. And Chino looks at me like, and Mayela's like, she can have a beer if she wants. She's grown. She's at home. It's fine. And then they go over to Joanna, to Maestra, to tell her what I said. And she just, from the living room, she's like, nobody's giving the baby a beer. And I'm just like, and it was hilarious. It was so much fun. There was nobody really there. It was just for us. It was just interactions for us to have, to remember what our dynamics are, to remember who we are to one another, and just the little things that started happening throughout. Sammy, who played cousin Ricky, in the story, his dad, Ricky's dad, passed away a few months ago, and that's it. That's all we know about Ricky's dad, and that he was Maestra's brother, and their growing up history, but not currently as Ricky's dad. And he made it this whole deal that no pictures of his father were in the ofrenda, even though he had died, and this, that, and the other. He didn't feel welcome. And we're like, what are you even talking about? Where is this coming from? We never agreed to this. What are you doing? But he kept doing it so often that we just weaved it into the story. And like he would be all like, yeah, no, because I'm all sad. And I'll be like, I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. I promise I have the picture. I just don't have a frame. We will get this done. I promise. And Abuela and Maestra would be like, is he complaining about the picture again? How many times? And I'm like, Mama, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? I didn't choose this. No, it was fun. It was so great. Such a great show.
It's so funny because it adds to the realism of it, and it just so naturally too. And I'm thinking, the night I went was horrible storm and pouring rain, sideways rain, flooding everywhere, and yet it added to the pre-show, I think, because getting there, being welcome with paper towels and booties and like, here, dry off, I was like, oh, I'm being like welcomed into like a dinner party. Like this, it just really added to the experience so nicely. And then being greeted, getting to talk to everybody, it just made the experience so much more enhanced in so many ways that at the end of the show, because it was so beautiful and touching, I couldn't help but think like, could this come back like on stage somehow and be more permanent fixture? But then I'm like, but it takes away from the immersive part of it, which is so incredible.
It does. I keep thinking, I would love to be considered for a second iteration of Canciones. I love this show so much. But I keep thinking that as well. Like this space that we were able to use for this was so perfect. Getting this to make it to a stage somewhere would require so much rewriting, so much re-editing, to make it make sense on a stage and not the way that we did it. If this were to make it like elsewhere in the country, because I personally feel, and do not take my word meaning that there's anything in the works. I don't know. I am not part of creative. This is just wishful thinking. But if Canciones could have a second life somewhere, there are so many places in this country that could host, that could be a great space for us, be it California, Texas, like Miami. Well, maybe not quite Miami, but you know what I mean? Like there are other places where we could bring the show if the opportunity, if there was an opportunity for it, that I would love to be able to bring this to more people, but what we accomplished for these 3 weeks in Brooklyn cannot be recreated. It really cannot be recreated anywhere else. Even if we got another home, another space to do this again for a second run of Canciones, it would be its own thing again. This moment in time that we shared, all of us in this home in Brooklyn. Thank you, Kat, for letting us use your home. Thank you so much. Um, was so special. Was so special. And I kept thinking, oh, maybe if we'd had a 5 week run, it could have, like, stretched it nicely for like a long, nice run that would have allowed more people to come and see the show. But no, three weeks was just right. Again, we were in somebody's home. We were in somebody's house. And there's a saying in Panama that after 3 days, guests and fish start to smell. So, so it was like, all right, we got to skedaddle.
Well, it left such a beautiful impression that I also couldn't help but wish afterward. I was like, man, I wish there was like tracks I could look up now and like re-listen to this cast singing, because it was just so beautifully done. And
I know.
all your voices are so incredible, especially together when they would come together. And you just felt there was, you're not in the theater, there wasn't a stage, and yet I felt
Mhm.
the finale song and encore, and I was like, wow. Like, I was just blown
Mhm.
away by how beautiful. And I feel like that's part of the magic of this experience, and being so immersive, which, you experience similar things like that in commercial spaces where they're putting on
Right.
kind of commercial and immersive things, but not like this. This just felt so, I felt like I was living inside of a musical, which I don't think I've ever
Yes.
felt before, which I think was beautiful
Yes.
because you feel part of the story officially. And
Mhm.
you can't do that on a grand scale, I think, and in any other
No.
space.
No,
And
you
so
really
in terms
can't.
of magic, I'm curious, my last two questions, which is, where do you find magic in the world, both in the creative spaces and outside of it?
Creatively, I I honestly find magic on stage. Stage is where I am at my most magical. Um, I I saw this reel a few weeks ago that kind of like described how people believe that that acting on stage, film, and TV are all like coming from the same place. That those three disciplines um, originated from the same source, and they didn't. Theater originated from a place of praising the gods, of reverence, of it's very ceremonial to an extent. You have a cast, you're casting kind of like a spell on the audience to suspend the disbelief. And then you have film, which came from photograph. So it's so you have the cinematography, you have the director of photography, because it's very visual. It's a very visual space. And then you have TV, which came from radio, so it's very speechy. and and to me, realizing that was like, oh my goodness, no, 1000%, all of these aspects are true to form, but being able to cast a spell on the audience, that is where I find my magic. That is where I feel at my like freest. I feel free on stage. I feel terrified on stage, but free. I feel magical. I feel like I have a huge responsibility that I take very, very seriously. And it's this it's just such a place of reverence for me. And yeah, I just love to create in that space. And outside of the creative aspect, of the artistic aspect where I create my magic, um, I like to find magic in cooking. I love cooking for my loved ones. It's not something that I do all the time. I Cooking is a labor of love,
Yeah.
but I love cooking for my loved ones. Like feeling like I am feeding you. To me that is not just love, but to me that is magic, because you are eating the love that I'm creating for you. So that's a way for me to create.
Well, it's funny. My last question was, how do you hope to create magic for others? And you just described how that is, and I feel like you're very successful in that. I mean, I felt
Thank
it
you.
just with the performance in Canciones, and it's very
Thank you.
visible in what you're part of, and how you light up when you talk about what you're passionate about. So thank you for sharing your
Thank
magic
you.
and being a magic maker, because it's very
Thank you,
inspiring and touching.
Matthew. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to share my passion and my magic through your podcast. Thank you for the invite.
Anytime. And I'm very happy to have you again, because I know you're going to be doing a bunch of different things and creating a lot
Amazing.
more
Would love to come
magic.
back. Lovely. Yes. Yes. You can count on that.
And before we end, I normally have my guests say what their name is and then tell everyone out there listening to go out there and do some magic. So I would love for you to do the
Absolutely.
same.
Hola, my name is Cristina Contreras, and do not forget to go out there and do some magic.
You heard everybody. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Bye.